Yeah, welcome to week 7 and 8. And this week we're going to be working on reflective surfaces. So we're just going to use this bottle as an example here. What you can see is that there's obviously some very bright lights that are coming in that are shining right on this, and you can see the shadow in the back. But the overall thing is really just very dark. And that's true of a lot of like shiny surfaces. For example, a lot of metals are in fact really quite dark, except for the part that's shining off. Right here, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but you got the dark water. The water's creating a little bit more darkness than right behind it. You can see a little bit of the table being reflected off in the bottom, and you can see the reflection of the bottle itself right in the table here. But the idea of what you want to do in terms of drawing this is you want to simplify things as much as possible. For example, the tiny little reflections, you don't want to put them all in. You want to like pick a couple of them to put in. There's probably one right there, one right there, one right there, and there might be one in the bottom. And then here where there's the label, you want to just darken things because there's no real serious reflection coming off the label. The other thing we're going to work on is folds. So that's going to be week 8. And folds are basically these like little tube areas here. So let's see if we can't just start drawing that. Honestly, I had some drawings all set up that I did a pretty good job doing, but the video started giving me some trouble. So in this scene right here, you can see a somewhat simplified version. This is the table that's being reflected. Then this is to represent the highlight. There really ought to be a highlight right in here also. So if the light's coming down this direction, then you're going to get a highlight right here, and you might get a tiny little highlight here. You might get a little highlight. Any kind of edge, any kind of where an object's surface is turning, you're going to get a little bit of a highlight. That's just the way it works. Hoping that this camera's in focus. That's the problem I had the last time I did this. So I'll show you quickly the drawings that I did. I did this drawing here just to give a sense of the reflections. I think I could actually get these lights to be even lighter, and I think that the background may be a little dark. And I think there needs to be a little bit of more work done on the watery surface right here. Yeah, it's a lot of work doing these things. And then in terms of folds, this is what I did last time. So today I'm not going to put quite so much effort into it. I'm just going to do a quick sketch to give you a sense of what you need to do. Basically, we're assuming that this bottle is going to be very dark overall. And what that means in actual fact is that a lot of stuff you won't actually be able to see just because it'll be too dark. And you'll just see the sort of the brightest highlights. So again, really the struggle is how do you simplify, right? If you look at some of the stuff in the museum, you know, like Paul Revere's pewter, his silverware, whatever, you'll notice just how incredibly simple a lot of this stuff is. So we're going to just put in the highlight here. I know you can't really see that, and there's going to be another highlight down here, and we can get a little bit of the background in just with this vine charcoal. And we can put a little bit of the reflection of the bottle in. We know that that's going to be in here. And we can put in like just the darkness of the bottle, the bottom of the bottle right here. It's not the perfect ellipse, but it'll give you some sense of it. Got to step back to be able to see that. And the bottle this little lip here is a little bit like this right here, right? You're just seeing these tiny little reflections up and down. There are these, because I have square windows up, you do see some like little squares there. And the way that that comes out in terms of this reflection is that there's like these little squarish things that kind of go up and down like that. So I have a bright light that's further down this direction, and then my windows are more, a little bit further on the left. But this area over here is going to be fairly dark, because over on the left-hand side here, there's not that much. And then we also get the shadow that's coming in right here. And then on our label, this side here is going to be fairly dark, and it gets a little lighter. Okay, so let's start putting in all the darkness of our actual bottle here. My charcoal is just starting to run out. I'm gonna have to switch over to some other kind of medium, I guess. And this stuff here could be a little bit more even. This line here could be a little more even this way. Oh, losing my stuff. And let's go ahead and just maybe darken this up a little bit on the bottom. So you see that there's a little bit of a reflection of the table over here too. So this area here is a little bit reflective of this kind of squarish table. Then it gets really kind of dark right about here. So I'm going to try to put in this line here, and then this little area right up here is where that major highlight is. Yeah, by accident I kind of covered over that one sort of square highlight I was talking about. Anyway, there that goes back in. And yeah, I got to square off my little label again. Take a look at that. Yeah, it gives you some sense of it. Anyway, yep. Now I'll show you how to do folds. These lines are very straight, even though like my actual towel might have like more of like a little bit of a curve, right? You want to try to do them as straight as possible. And then also, this is a very white towel that I did. So nothing's going to be super black except for where it's in the darkest shade. Otherwise, even these areas here where there's very little light that's actually hitting them, they're still coming off gray. So you want to find your sort of overall, like what's the overall value of this thing? Is it mainly light? Is it mainly dark? Is it mainly in between? And then from that standpoint, then you start working on trying to make these little tubes that you're seeing here. With our towel here, and it's kind of like leaning off of the edge of a table. So you do want to get a sense of like what's underneath your fold. I mean, that's obviously more important if, let's say, your folds are on top of a human being, right? So you're, let's say, doing the pant legs or whatever. And then there's going to be kind of like the bottom shape, right? And then you're going to get these triangles that are going to go up like that. And then we just want to very carefully start putting in the overall darknesses, okay? So once again, the light is coming in this direction. So this edge here is going to be just a little bit darker. You could put in, let's say, a really dark background, right? So we got a white table on a fairly dark background. There's one easy way of toning the paper here. But again, it's another one of those things where mainly what you're trying to do is you're trying to simplify, right? If you can't seem to simplify the thing, then you're really probably doing something wrong. You're not thinking about it the right way. So I'm going to put in a shadow right in here. Gets the shadows a little bit bigger as it goes down. And then again, these lines are very straight. Another line right here. And, and sometimes you'll see like, wrinkles, right? Tiny little wrinkles. You don't want to put those little wrinkles in. It's just not necessary. But then sometimes you do want to work on, let's say, the bottom edges, just to kind of give a little bit more of a sense of what's actually happening with this material. Maybe it's a little, maybe there is like a little hem at the very bottom. Sometimes putting that stuff in helps. But every single little wrinkle, you're just not going to be able to do it. All right, so that gives you some sense of how we're doing folds.